We are joined once again on the Damage Report by presidential candidate Cenk Uygur. Cenk, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Glad to have you here. We have a lot that I want to talk about, but I wanted to start off with, and get an update on sort of like the legal status of the Democratic primary. We've previously talked in your appearances about your struggle to get onto the ballot, and ballot access is a huge story in America these days. So give me a little bit of an update on where exactly that stands.
Yeah, it is interesting. Look, I get why people are think that the Trump being denied ballot access in Colorado is a much larger story. He's leading the race. He's leading Biden. He's leading everyone on the Republican side by a lot. Although Nikki Haley now beginning to catch up to him a little bit in New Hampshire. All right. But it's also kind of a big deal that there's massive ballot access issues on the Democratic side. So in 4 states, now the list is so large, sometimes I struggle to remember them. Massachusetts, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida, all of Biden's opponents have been wiped off the ballot. It's those voters in those states will have no democracy in their primary. They will have no choices, even though there are actually other candidates running. There's of course Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips, myself, and some other smaller players make it onto different ballots, but not in those 4 states. They say your only choice is Joe Biden, and you'll shut up and like it. Democracy be damned. So that's the overall issue the Democratic Party has, where they hate. It's just a fact. They hate democracy in the primaries. They've done this now, election after election after election. They love the powerful. They love incumbents. Entrenched power is what the Democratic Party is all about. So that's a fact, and it's the worst possible time to highlight that. Right before you're going to make a general election case that democracy is on the line. But when it comes to me, John, as you know, that I have an extra layer of issues because I'm not a natural born citizen. So other states have also blocked me, and that is unconstitutional. And so just at the end of last week, right before Christmas, we launched our lawsuit in South Carolina on the core constitutional issue, and we were making a 5th, 14th Amendment, and First Amendment constitutional case. We're also making a legal case based on the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that I should be on every ballot and that I should be allowed to serve as president of the United States.
So a lot of issues there, and so some of them specific to your candidacy, some general issues of the Democratic primary, and I find it so interesting, not just that this is happening, but that especially at a time when you have the Colorado and now Michigan decisions affecting Trump dominating so much conversation, that the Democratic side, where in multiple states, effectively, you just don't have a primary. It has been legally mandated that the primary is being skipped. Like the Grinch has successfully stolen Christmas. You're just not gonna have a primary. And what it sort of makes sense to me that CNN and MSNBC are not discussing that seemingly. They want to protect Joe Biden. But why isn't even like Fox News or right-wing media using this as an example of how Joe Biden and the Democrats are rigging the entire thing? Like I feel like they would at least have a vested interest in discussing what's being done, but I don't see it being discussed really anywhere.
So that is a really interesting point. First of all, how damning is it of CNN and MSNBC that we all assume that they're in the business of protecting the incumbent president and that they would never treat his opponents fairly? Marianne Williamson, I've made this point, even though I'm technically running against her, has been polling higher than Nikki Haley and almost everyone in the race, not named Trump, Biden, or DeSantis, for the entirety of the time, and no coverage at all. I mean, they're just, those mainstream media outlets are saying, yeah, of course we're biased, and if you're trying to challenge power, we're gonna shut you out. That's the most obvious thing in the world. So they should own up to it and say that they're not objective, that they're pro-establishment, pro-corporate media outlets. Okay, so now when you turn to Fox News, the only theory I have, John, and nobody knows this, so he's a tiny piece of breaking news here. On the very first night that I announced, Jesse Waters asked me on, okay? And I thought, interesting. And maybe they saw that I'm saying that Biden should get out of the race, but it was actually a Purdue service. And I told my campaign manager, incoming, that they are going to change their minds in 3, 2, 1. And of course, they had asked the night that I announced, by the next afternoon on the day that I was supposed to be on, they had canceled. I got on CNN through someone I know. They canceled, and they cancel wherever I go. And I think that part of it is that Fox News and right-wing outlets are willing to have people on as long as they bash Democrats, but only if they bash Democrats, and they are not allowed to talk about anything else. And so Bobby Kennedy Jr. was perfect for them until he became independent and he started taking polling away from Trump. And now all of a sudden, I don't know, they're calling him all sorts of hideous names, right? But he was allowed on because he was going to serve their purposes. Apparently, congratulations to Marianne and Dean as well, who are not serving their purposes. Look, they could change and turn around at any time. And we have plenty of things to say that are not pleasant about Joe Biden. But there are many, many things that are way more unpleasant about the lunatic named Donald Trump. And they don't want anyone hearing that on their air.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.